This is a little bit of a trial run in doing this. My name is David Bailey. I'm the owner, CEO of Fashion District Northwest. The reason for doing this, and Jonathan, do you mind checking to see if I'm actually on camera or if I'm off camera?
No, you're good.
Okay, perfect.
Scooch.
Can you mind widening it out just a little bit, the lens?
Literally where you are right now.
Okay, perfect. You can widen it out a little bit on the lens. Zoom out on the camera. You know camera stuff.
And then scooch yourself that way ever so.
That way we can see Veronica. Perfect.
You can hide me. It's fine.
Okay, I've got my mark. What I've realized, for those of you that know me, Fashion District Northwest produces the Couture and Cars fashion show. We're now producing Fashion in Flight, and we've also in the past produced Fashion is Art, and we'll be bringing that back for 2025 and are working on securing location for that. In addition to that, we're also working on expanding other shows. People have encouraged us to be a little bit more predominant in the fashion community and around the Northwest. And part of that is my hesitation in doing that is realizing for us to grow, I need to make sure that I've grown the fashion community as well. So our focal point really is the connecting and educating. So this is the part of connecting and educating and doing these networking events. Part of my reasoning for doing this, specifically the way that we're doing this, is I've referred to the fashion industry as kind of an upside down pyramid, in the sense that at the top you have lots of models and photographers and fashion in general, and it all comes down to the single point at the bottom, which is the most crucial part of the success of the fashion industry, which is fashion designers. So to do that, we've got designers that are out there that have gone to design school, and whether you went to what you consider a great design school or not a great design school, there's a gap in education, there's a gap in opportunities and understanding where to take things. I'm looking for ways to try to fill that gap. So we've done these in the past and said, hey, let's do this as a workshop and try to do it as a paid thing, and realized that just didn't really work for the audience that we were going for. So we wanted to create this as free to come. We also wanted to make it free to attend in person and free to attend online, and also have resources that we're going to start posting online for us in the future. With that being said, there's some of this technology stuff that we'll have to figure out and make sure that it's actually working the way that we want to. But this is the first one. This is why I called it kind of a fashion designer meet and greet, is my focal point in this one. This isn't supposed to be a Fashion District Northwest centered event. The first one will be to let you get to know us a little bit. But part of the line of questioning that I'm gonna have for you is, what do you want the next topic to be? My plan is to do this every other month, probably the first or second Sunday of the month. And this type of situation, just like today, do it where it can be in person, which for those of you that are able to be here in person is great, because it's nice to kind of get out of the office and see other people that are fashion-minded people. And we'll be doing some networking after this to get to know you guys a little bit better. The other part of it is for those of you that can't participate, maybe you want to be home sewing right now, and I get that. So come on in. Come on in, find a seat. We are on camera, just a heads up. So if you can't attend in the future, you can also attend online. Or if you can't attend online, then we'll also have a recording for this as well. I'm thinking this is the best way to try to get as many people. My goal for this is to get 50, 60 strong, to fill out this room and go, we need to get a bigger space. There's part of this that I've set up with the idea that this is not me just teaching from, I am the end all and be all and know everything about fashion. I know that we learn from other people. I know that some of the things that this side of the room may have a question on, like, I don't know what to do about this. This side of the room may have the answer, and vice versa. I think part of it is how do we bring those community of fashion. How many of you as fashion designers have 3 or 4 fashion designer friends that you can ask questions of or relate to, or like, hey, where'd you get your fabric? I'm struggling to find this type of thing. I won't know those things, but you guys will. So the best thing I can do is get you in a room together to be able to talk about this stuff. The other part of it is to also bring, in the future, what we'll do is go, okay, what is the next topic going to be? And we'll go, okay, I'll have a panel instead of just my staff. For this one, we'll have a panel of 2 or 3 people that is going, okay, we're going to talk about pricing. How do you price your garments? I feel like almost every designer in here, not everyone, but most of you struggle pricing your garments, knowing, well, is it too much? Is it too little? Am I making? Where are you in that process? And we may have to do a whole talk on how do you price your stuff? Because if you guys aren't making money, and this is what I talk about, the upside down pyramid, if the foundation is the designers and we don't help support that foundation, there's no need for fashion models. If we don't have designers, we don't need models. If we don't have fashion designers, we don't need fashion photographers. We definitely don't need fashion events. So it is a weird business model from an industry side of things, in that we are very heavily dependent on designers. So my way of kind of extending the olive branch to you to help grow that industry is by doing this. Like, yes, we do our fashion shows. Yes, we are a resource that you can contact, call, email, text, carrier pigeon, whatever works for you, and we'll try to help you out as best we can. And I feel like if I don't have the answer, I'm going to try to find somebody else that has the answer for you. So getting you an opportunity to find where do we move forward as an industry around here, and what do we want the Seattle fashion industry to look like 2 years from now, 4 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. You know, I think everybody has hopes and dreams, whether you're beginning person or have been doing this for 10 years already, of where you're wanting to project your business out in a couple of years. So this is an opportunity for you to grow, learn, contribute to the community itself, for us to network and have a little bit of fun with it as well. So thank you very much for being here. I will start off by introducing my team here that's with me. They're going to go through and give a little bit of background about themselves. I'd say 3 or 4 minutes of who you are, what is your role with the team. Come on in. Come on in. So we are set up on a camera right now, just to let you know. We can grab a chair. Got one right there set up. Perfect. Nice to have a full house. I'm excited to have a turnout like this because it's encouraging to go, yeah, let's do it again in 2 months and see what we can grow next time. And hopefully next time you'll have that one designer buddy, friend of yours that you say, no, you need to make sure you come this time. So my staff is going to give you 3 or 4 minutes of introducing themselves, kind of their background, how and what they might be able to help you with in the future, and I'll turn it over to them. And first, I'll go real quick and go, we've got our 2 designer coordinators, Veronica Moss, we've got Caitlin Baker, or Kate Baker, and then we've got Yulia, and sorry, Yulia, you would just be Yulia. I always struggle with it, but Yulia is our creative director for Fashion District Northwest. She helps a lot with the imagery. She's background in design school, so she's helped with some of these cool posters that you see up here. But I'm going to pass this over the baton to them, and I'm going to check the live stream to make sure everything's working on the back end for everybody. Here you go, Veronica.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I got to meet most of you coming in, but my name is Veronica. I am going on almost 6 years with Fashion District, and I've loved every show that I've been a part of. I also attended design school over 20 years ago, so I do have that background, so I love being able to be a design coordinator and working with all of you guys one-on-one if you're ever participating in our shows. Gosh, what else? I'm now a full-time wardrobe stylist, so I don't do much design on my end anymore, unless I'm really just having the urge to be creative in that part. But being a stylist definitely gets me, gives me that love of fashion still. So I also do makeup part-time, so and I work with a lot of the models, which well. But we have a really good group, and I totally agree with David on growing the fashion industry in this area. Even though it has grown in the last 20 years, I feel like we're still so far behind from other areas, and I love building the community and seeing it grow and grow. But thank you guys all for being here.
Hi, everyone. I'm Caitlin. I usually go by Kate, so you feel free to call me that. I've been with the company for going on 3 years now. I've worked multiple shows with them and outside of the industry, or excuse me, outside of the company with others. I'm the designer coordinator. You'll probably hear from me in emailing, and I will annoy you to no end. I absolutely love working with this. It took a really long time to kind of find this community and to kind of worm my way into it, and now I'm not leaving. A brief thing, so I do have that design tactical background. I go to school for it for a short period. I have done styling, merchandising.
Hello, my name is Julia, and yes, I am creative director for the fashion. For many years. How many years, David? 10 more? My background is multidisciplinary. I am a co-founder of multimedia global publication, Soleil Era. My forte is on bringing the vision and building the brand strategy around it. So creating a vision for Fashion District Northwest and all the production that David does with Couture and Cars, Fashion and Flight, Artist Fashion, is to create the foundation visually, so that is aligned with the vision of the of each production. I think the topic of, or the objective, the mission that David has is not an easy one, and his mission is to dedicate his efforts to educate and connect the fashion community of the Pacific Northwest. And I think it's not an easy task, it's a challenge. But we have to start somewhere. I've been on the board of the Fashion Group International for 4 years, building the community, and again, it just takes an effort to do it. So for you coming here and connecting, it's a step forward for all of us. I'm mission-driven. I want to see people succeed, and we're here to help each other and share the knowledge and experience. And I think it's a good, but it's very exciting, I think, to be a part of building community together. I think it's very exciting. So David, thank you for bringing us all today. And so, yeah, thank you.
Sorry to everybody on the live stream. Unfortunately, we had the video cut out the moment I walked up here, so we've gone a few minutes with static on their end. They could hear us, but couldn't see us, unfortunately. So I got it, I think, started when Veronica was starting. So I've got it recorded, but it's going to be a little interesting. But it looks like we're going pretty solid right now. My goal in this is for us to learn from each other, learn from our staff and team, grow as a community. Part of this is also knowing that I don't have all the answers, and know that you as designers have ideas and ways of feeling like, oh, it would be super awesome if we could get support via this way. And so I want to start kind of opening up some of this to the questions from you to find out a little bit of how can we serve you better. I know that we're an event production company. I know that we do our fashion shows. I feel like that is one of the components of what we need to do is get everybody to a point where, not everybody's ready for a fashion show. So I understand that that isn't why I'm here today, is to talk to you about our fashion shows. But I do see it as a way that we are helping contribute to support the fashion designers in the region. But I'm also looking at it, what are other ways that we can look to support you guys? So I've got a microphone to pass around. I would love it if you would be on the microphone or say it loud enough that I can repeat it to the microphone so the people on the live stream can hear it. But does anybody have any ways of thinking, have had thoughts or discussions on what could be done in the region to help support designers more? Sure.
To have possibly a directory.
Okay.
And I say this because I've been designing and customizing work for my clients since 2012. And I get new customers, clients as often, and they say, oh, we never heard about you. Where have you been? And I remember when I first met you, David, that was before COVID, right about during COVID, before the shutdown. And you said, where have you been? Do you remember?
I do.
Yes. So I think for me, I struggle with people not knowing about me, even though I do have a large clientele. But I still hear that, oh, we never heard about you, especially within my community. But I think the direction you're going towards will really help us. I've been to New York and other cities, and yeah, New York is known for being a fashion place in the US. I came from Los Angeles, it's the same, but I think Seattle needs that help, because a lot of people want to go to fashion shows. They do. It's not really about the price of the tickets, but it's just, they just don't know where to go to. And, so a lot of people I've told about the upcoming shows are so excited. Yeah. But it's not really spread out or commercialized as much, if I use that term. So people just don't know how to, get us or where they can get that. And they really do need it, especially for fashion, for weddings.
My question is, when we're talking about Los Angeles or New York, what are the resources that you go to learn about fashion shows, resources of any sort, fabric or anything like that? Where do you go? Can you name any resources?
Resources as in, like, how do I get into their shows? Or
No, I think
Sourcing, anything of that sort.
they actually reach out to me. Yes, yes, and that's why I'm excited to hear that you really want to help us in these ways, because people like David and what he does, I get tons of emails that will say, we heard about you from a show you did, in New York, and people, even companies from Italy, Milan, and want me to be part of their shows. So they do get it from wherever I go. It's really spread out. That's why I said maybe a directory, that they can tap into,
Process, we've already had discussions, internal discussions of revamping the fashion district. One of the things that I've wanted to do on that website is try to figure out a way to have kind of an index. Here's the designers, have a bio a way to support you via our website. With that being said, part of our problem also is I have a number of people that are like, oh, wait, I'm hearing about your fashion show for the first time. I'm like, we've done this 6 years. How have you not heard this? Yeah. And there's literally a disconnect. Part of it is, if I'm workshopping what you're saying, a couple things come to mind. How can we provide some resources on our website to help share out information on the designers to get you connected? We do a great job of it from our fashion shows, and that's part of what they participate for, and get that exposure. But in addition to that, how can we create some Rolodex, an index, so to speak, of all the designers in the Northwest? And, and really, I truly feel like this is not a Seattle thing that I'm wanting. I'm planning to do this type of thing down in Portland and then have all of you on the live stream situation, connecting with them from down there. Same thing with Vancouver, BC. Like, I see these 3 cities. It's why I didn't do Fashion District Seattle. I did Fashion District Northwest because I see 3 cities that are fairly close to each other. And if you're designing in this region, we should be pooling our resources together for those 3 cities. So one we can do is work on trying to find a way of getting, and I've looked into it a little bit before, and it's, some of the stuff that I'm asked to do from a Fashion District Northwest side, just like I'm doing today with the live stream, is somewhat out of my skill set and my level of expertise. So, I do a lot of our marketing and our websites, and I can work on trying to find ways of doing it. But we currently are using Squarespace, and there's some limitations in that as well. So how do I put together a platform, make it functional, make it reasonable? And again, if it's something that ends up being a huge cost on my end to either have a website, to have a web designer develop it for me, or that type of thing, I've got to find a way of covering my cost. And so I'm going to look into that. The other side of things that I look at, and I would love to hear this from my side of things, is we always hear about SEOs. Like, oh, is your website? How many of you have a website? A couple of you. A couple of you don't. You've started it. And we go, okay, well, we've got a website or we've got social media, but are we truly utilizing what we have to work for us? And things like SEO, code words, like there's, without it costing, somebody individually going, oh, let's get somebody in here to work on your website and cost you, $150 an hour, or I'll do it for $1,000 and this, that. We get that everybody's on a budget. So maybe one of the things that we can do is kind of, Yulia, you've dealt with marketing and the creative side of things. We can get a panel together kind of talking about how to make what you have and what you're capable of doing a little bit more successful for you as a designer. So I'll look for ways for Fashion District Northwest to support you in that regards, but we're also going to look for ways to educate you on how to support yourself. As awesome as Instagram and Facebook are, I'm old enough to realize that it was much more effective for us 10 years ago than it is now. Are there platforms, some of you are using TikTok very well. Megan, you use TikTok extremely well. Some people are using social media better than others. Again, I look at the room and go, but I'm a designer. But the problem is you're not just a designer if you're a small business person. So you are also your creative director, you're also your marketing person, you're also your PR person, you're also your human resources, customer service. You have to wear so many different hats as a individual designer that it's not easy. So again, part of this is like, how can we support and provide some resource or guidance? For some of you, you've gotten to a point where like, okay, I'm ready to bring help on. What does that look like? Who would that might be? There are industry professionals that I know that have, okay, if you're looking to get your stuff in different areas, how do we go about this? So part of it is we want to connect you with different resources on it. Yulia, I'm going to give you a second to kind of talk about from the individual side of things on that question.
Definitely we can, so many things that we can talk about. I really like the point that David did in terms of utilizing what you have and building, seeing your vision and putting the elements together of what you already have. And so does it make sense for you to do TikTok, or does it make sense for you to do Instagram, open Instagram, Facebook, whatever? You need to be ready to have all your elements together, and besides that, they need to be aligned with your vision, so it's cohesively represented throughout all your platforms. So that's not an easy task to do. And we work with David on that all the time. How do we create a cohesive story, right? So individually, on the individual basis, we can work with each designer to evaluate, to look again at what you have already done in terms of, I don't know. Yeah, marketing, but what you have. Do you have a web? Do you need a website? Okay, if you need a website, what is going to have? Maybe just a landing page, okay? About and your image and what your mission of your brand is. If it's Instagram, then what are you going to do? What's it going to look like? How do you build your content around that? So, what would you, yeah. I mean, there's so many things that we can talk about.
One of our goals going to, on that as well is just resources to build your guys's, going back to the clientele as well. We have rosters of models that you can work with. We have fashion photographers. David's a great one. So when you're ready to do your website or just post, we can have those resources available for you guys, because it is hard when you are just starting, especially to start, because imagery is everything right now. So it is a huge part of your business. So again, yeah, models, photographers, videographers, we're hoping to, provide those resources for you as well.
Some of the things I was going to talk about real quick is, so I started the company and I said, I need to get a website guy. So I need somebody to develop me a website, and I spent a couple $1,000s to build a website. And the whole focus was, can you build it? Then I'll be able to manage it once it's built and take it from there. I kept that website up for about a year. I was never able to make it work for me, and it was too hard, too difficult. So since then, I have learned and built my own websites, and get a marketing director or a marketing person to create campaigns and stuff. It's too hard. You pay a lot of money for somebody to do that. Again, small businesses starting out. I can either help you share some of the resources and kind of guide you, or I can help you on a consulting side of things of, I'm going to probably do it a lot cheaper than a website designer and probably get more of what you're actually needing, as opposed to let's make this so super complicated. But I've gone through this myself of how do you make this work without spending thousands of dollars on a website? Okay, well, Squarespace is a good option. There's websites that can build your own. Some people like Wix, some people like different stuff. There's options, but I'm letting you know that we can be there to kind of help with some of that as well, either give you the resources or give you a flat consulting fee to help you with a little bit of the stuff. And it doesn't need to be hey, I need 10 hours a week, paying 10 hours a month of a subscription type of fee. It can also be hey, I just need a little bit of help to do these 3 things, and once I'm done, then I'm done. So finding ways to get designers connected with the audience, I think, is a big part of it. How do they find you, and different ways to help you get seen and heard. Let's go on to next question. Anybody else have an idea on how can we provide more of a support to the designers? It can be either something we should do on a more regular basis, or however you want to phrase the question.
Thank you. This kind of piggybacks off what was just talked about, but I'm very much entirely new and have sort of an untraditional path into wanting to become a fashion designer. And so while I don't expect anything to replace any kind of formal education, I think for me it would be really helpful maybe to have one of these events catered towards like newbies coming into the industry, and even maybe like a panel of what might be considered experienced fashion designers who could just kind of give advice, like one-on-one advice that you might not be able to get in like an educational program. And so it's hard to know what topics. I don't know what I don't know yet right now. So that's like learning what I need to figure out is part of that process. So it would be great to have a workshop for figuring out what I need to figure out, if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's why we decided to do it this way as well. So I think there is very much going to be kind of a beginner tilt to at least one or multiple of these. Now, my honest opinion when it comes to the city of Seattle is like, okay, you know, just by a show of hands, any of the designers out here making $100,000 a year? There's you not all raising your hand at once. That's odd. There's aspects of whether you've done it 1 time, 5 times, 10 times. I could talk to you about pricing, and I'm assuming pricing is always a challenge for a beginning designer. Anybody consider themselves kind of an experienced designer that also still feels like you could use some guidance on pricing? The problem that we're finding, that I find, and this is because I'm talked to so many different people in this regards, is we make somewhat of an assumption that we're the only ones struggling with something new and experienced, and until we're one of the ones that are like, oh no, I'm in Nordstrom's and in Macy's, and I'm making well over $500,000 a year. I've got a staff of 12 that work with. Nobody in here is at that point. They're in New York, they may be in LA. There are companies in Seattle that are this way. But how do we bridge the gap for all the designers, whether you're a couture designer, whether you're a production-ready designer, whether you're looking to build your first collection or you've done 10 collections. There's stories and opportunities that they can learn from you even, and somewhat need a reminder of it. I've got a friend that runs a business, and she's literally kind of revamping her whole business, realizing she's kind of lost touch a little bit on what she's been doing and needs to update it. I don't know about you guys, but COVID threw me for a loop. I mean, it threw the industry for a loop. There were questions of how is the world going to come back to being the world again? And I'm very pleased I feel like it has for the most part. And that there's still designers still standing and still wanting to do this, as opposed to curling up in a ball going, everything that I built so hard before COVID is now gone. I would say the same thing from an industry side of things of the last 10 years of fashion. Since social media has been incorporated into the world and been what it is now with Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and those things, it's also changed the world or the landscape to fashion as well. How we get out to the world. I mean, it used to just be the only way to get noticed in the fashion industry is participate in a fashion show, and that was your only source of getting connected to an audience. Well, now you're connected with an audience every day, or every day you decide to post. So you want to share out your new dress? Great. Again, I think Megan does a really good job of it. She would disagree with me because just like you're going, oh, I don't know what I'm doing and I'm trying. Well, I'm sorry, we've got to try and fail before we figure out what we're doing right. This is my second or third iteration of trying to bring networking events and workshops for the designers, and I'd say last time we did this, I had 4 or 5 people that showed up. And now got a few people online, I got a few people that are going to watch the live stream, and we've got more than a dozen people here. So Clearly, this time has been better, and I honestly didn't know if I'd walk into this room and have 3 or 4 people. My also challenge with this when I talk to the designers is there's got to be some little bit of give and take. You know, designers will look at me and say, oh, I'm so excited and I'm so making this a career choice for myself. But if you're spending an hour or 2 a month on building your business, you're not doing it right. And I mean, I'm not accusing you of anything, but if we wanted to grow, I get that almost everybody here probably has a full-time job in addition to their fashion design. Some of you may do other things, some of you may be a parent and be home with the kids, and you're not able to spend, you know, every waking day of every moment working on your company. But you at least got to spend it as a part-time job and go, I'm going to spend 20 hours a month, or 20 hours a week, building your company. Spending a couple hours a week working on social media, a couple hours a week sewing garments, making garments, doing new stuff. To run a business, you're going to have to spend and commit time to it. My frustration as somebody that's doing these is going, okay, here we provided a free resource. And how many people are like, well, I think I'm going to go to the Mariner game this weekend. It's like, if it's a priority for you, I'm willing to, and those of you that showed up today have showed that this is a priority for you, and I'm hoping you'll all come back. I get that your friend's wedding's in a month and it just happens to fall on the wrong time and you're not able to make it. I'm not going to accuse you of anything by not showing up next time. But I also know that there are certain people that seem invested in making it happen for themselves, and then there's people that want to do it but don't understand how to do it. So my advice to you in that regard is spend the time and energy to grow. If you're a designer that's new at this, find somebody in the room that is a little bit more experienced, or email me and say, David, I'd really love to get connected with somebody that might have a feel for this. Now, I'm not going to set you and kind of take a pause for a second. Previous life, I was working with FGI, and I did run their mentorship program for 2 years. There's things about the mentorship program that I really liked, and it was a program that I had inherited, Fashion Group International, and I don't know that they're doing much in Seattle at the moment. But the mentorship program concept is something that I still think needs to happen. So knowing full well that you may have questions, and in your design, I'm not going to connect you with somebody that's doing exactly what you're doing. But maybe if you're not doing wedding dresses, I can connect you with a wedding dress designer that's business, or a menswear designer that's doing this type of thing. Or maybe it's somebody that doesn't mind that you're also doing something that they're doing, but they've been doing it for 20 years and they're not worried of you taking their business. You know, it is a little bit of a challenge. I think what we invest in it from a staff side of things for Fashion District Northwest, and what you are willing to invest as designers in each other, in yourself, is going to help build what this community is. I would love to see this room filled out with 50 to 75 people, 100 people going, I'm excited about what the fashion industry is doing around here. And I get that there's things that I'm going to need to step out and put the olive branch out there for you a little bit to say we're willing to invest in you. We want you to reciprocate and show that you're willing to invest in yourself as well. Anybody on our panel, any of a question?
Have you thought to connect with like a morning show? Like I saw last week on the Facebook, a designer from Seattle. I never heard of her before. So she was on the like a morning show, and this shows her stuff, and she shared it on the Facebook.
So from a Seattle media side of things, again, like we've talked about, some things you trial and error. I have sent multiple emails, multiple messages, Instagram, Facebook, emails. I haven't done phone calls. Part of it is I've got to find the right people to talk to. And I feel like I'm maybe like I talked to you. If you don't put in the effort towards it, it doesn't happen. Maybe I need to spend a little bit more time trying to kind of crack into that, to use that resource. Because again, it solves a little bit of your problem of getting noticed, you know, noticed, getting the designers out there, have a funnel system of like, hey, once these designers have done these shows and gotten themselves to a certain level, now we're plugging them in with the local magazines and with the local regional news, TV for.
Public relations. Yes, that's the part of public relations. To develop the publicity for Fashion District Northwest and all the shows that David is producing. So it will take effort to do it. So the public can see and know and learn exactly what he's doing. That's public relations. Yes, fashion is a part of it. Lifestyle, yes. Correct. Absolutely, for people to know about the shows, and that's part of public relations. Yeah, working on it.
I reached out to K5. I actually met the anchor lady. The only way they want to showcase designers is if you're doing a giving back to the community. They told me, you have wonderful designs, but we will only showcase you if you're giving back to the community. And most of the designers, if you look at it, that they've showcased on K5 or K13 or whatever, they actually did a drive, like give free clothes to the homeless or food. That's the only way they told me. That's the only way. That's the requirement. Yeah.
Found that to be true as well. Or if you do a portion of your sales going back to a certain charity or a nonprofit, you will get more advertisement that way.
It's good to know, though. One more thing, as designers now, we're starting, it's like we do everything by ourselves. For future, if we wanna like grow more, and it's like we wanna do like this dress for like 10 pieces. Like for me, I'm doing it by myself, and I think all the designers do the same. There is ways we can find something good quality, good prices for us to put our design, and they do it for us. Then like it will be easier if we're gonna build this.
So a couple things I'll touch on that real right now. So yeah, we are working on trying to get people connected to small batch and large batch. The thing that I would definitely say is just like when somebody comes to you and says, oh, I really want you to can you make this beautiful wedding dress for me, but I really only have like $400 to give you, but I really want this $5,000 wedding dress. I mean, we all experience that. Everybody wants everything for a quarter of what they should have to pay for it, but they've got a reason. I really appreciate. I've got just a limited budget. I mean, I swear I feel like for the wedding people, it's like, well, I've already spent my $10,000 on this venue, but I want to spend $50 on the wedding dress, but I still want the high-end wedding dress. There's kind of a dichotomy. If you want cheap and you want fast, then you're going to have to give up quality. If you wanted high quality and you want it fast, you better believe you're going to have to pay through the teeth to be able to pay for it. I think we as a region need to figure out a way to kind of stand our ground and say this is what we're worth. On a side of this, and I feel like it is somewhat of a question at times of like, people have seen our fashion shows and go, oh, it is expensive. And some of you have looked at it, I can't afford it right now. I get it, I understand it, and it might not be the right time for you. But from my viewpoint, I'm going, we do a lot of different things to try to create a great show for you, put staff together, make sure it's professional, and it costs money. The production costs just alone kind of force us into this. These ladies put in a lot of time and energy, and I can't ask them to do it for free. I get tired of, we've all worked for organizations or done things for people, and it's like, oh, my sister's brother's friend's wife's going to get married, and she needs a wedding dress. Could you do a friend a favor and make me I think we got tired of kind of being stuck in that world. So how do we change what people view as our hobby into being an actual business for people? So some of it's a mindset we need to change, and I think it's a group mindset that we need to change. As far as the media side, and you mentioned that for them to do things, it's part of why we're shifting gears a little bit. Fashion in Flight was our first opportunity to partner with a nonprofit. It is something that I had been kind of working pre-COVID and through COVID on. It was a great opportunity for us to kind of shift gears a little bit. So in that situation, and so many of you are trying to scratch, claw, get to where you are now and wanting to grow that into so much more in the future. I don't know if we're already struggling to get sales already to say, oh, we're going to give 20% of all of our sales for the next month to the nonprofit. We're already struggling. So I'm not sitting here saying, hey, you've got to turn yourself into a nonprofit and make no profit or money in this and donate 10 wedding dresses or 10 dresses to, local. I think there's things that we could do as a collective and maybe kind of work on doing a Seattle fashion, and it doesn't have to be labeled as Fashion District Northwest. It could be just the Fashion Community Seattle is doing a clothing drive or doing a whatever it might be to help out the local community. And I think there are some good nonprofits that we could look at partnering with and seeing ways to do an event to get some more exposure for everybody. Any other questions on kind of what we could do to kind of help move things forward?
My very next hurdle right now is getting somebody to help with the production. Like, I'm stuck. I've got too much work. I'm overworked. I'm working 100 hours a week. It's not humanly possible. I hardly sleep. I need help, but I don't know where to go. Like, I'm tapping every resource possible, and it's like nobody wants to work. Nobody needs a job. Nobody knows how to sew. I'm not sure. Where do I go? Who can help me?
So one of the things that I knew before we walked in here, one of the future topics will be on fashion production. What do you need to do to get your collections produced? I know a few people in the region that do this stuff. I also know that they have some certain hurdles that need to happen to begin with. Like, oh, I'm looking to get this stuff done. Okay, great. And I'm not being sarcastic here. Do you have $30,000? Yes. Okay. Sure. And I am able to help anyone in every situation, but so many times I get I've got like $500.
I mean, I've literally
Oh.
my retirement is make or break for me, so I'm like, I'm going to be home.
So when we end the live stream, I will get you connected with a few people that I know that deal with some manufacturing here in the region, some manufacturing overseas, some down in LA. There are people that we can help get you connected with. But it is also, I've got people that are like, oh, I'm new at this, and they're going, I want to get manufacturing. I'm like, great. If you're not have like a nest egg of $20,000 or $30,000 to produce your first collection or first two collections, you're going to be in a world of hurt as far as making that next step. Designers that are couture designers, and there's nothing wrong with being a couture designer. There's some couture designers that I've known. David Topaz was one that had made a decision a long time ago. He's like, I don't want to be a production-ready designer. I don't want to make crossover into that. I want to do the individual, the custom, the one-of-a-kinds, and that's where his passion was. But it was also a financial decision of going, I'm a little bit less of a big risk in doing production and saying this is going to work out from a production side of things. I don't have to go that route, and it doesn't have to. It's a way of kind of individualizing and keeping it just for himself, as opposed to the challenges and hurdles of getting manufactured, whether it's in the U.S. and paying a lot more, or overseas and not being able to go to those places. I keep running into designers that are doing stuff that are. Dream Dresses. Fong was one of the designers that participated in Couture and Cars for a couple of years. She moved out of the country, moved back to her previous home of Vietnam, and has started a manufacturing plant there. So there are things of people there are some mentalities of what can be done. I know that there's, I've got a couple of people here in the area that are kind of trying to set up a hub where you can go to them and they will help manage the overseas stuff. So there are resources. Again, I don't have all the answers, but I don't even know that I have all the questions, which is sometimes the challenge. But what I'm looking to do is provide an assistance as best I can. So if I can go and say, you go, I need this help, great, here's what I have available to me now. Let's work on it together and see if there's other resources that we can find on. And then let's start building a platform where we've got this documentation out here and be able to go, hey, everybody else, if you're looking for small batch stuff, here's where it is. If you're looking for large batch stuff, here's where you go. If you want to made in China, here's where you go. If you're wanting to make it from down in LA, here, I think these are resources that we need to start sharing and building. And I've got a spot on our website that it is the hardest thing in the world, though, honestly, to Google fashion manufacturing or clothing manufacturing. It is not like Googling, hey, what restaurants are in the area? I've literally spent time on the website going, I can't get, if I go clothing manufacturing, I get screen printed t-shirts. I get 1,000 of those to pop up and maybe one in there that will actually be doing manufacturing.
And if they do, they don't want to do technical stuff. I mean, that's like what I'm running into. They're like, oh, you have to do horsehair braid. We don't want to hand sew. We don't want to, they don't want the high fashion. They want garbage fashion.
Fast fashion is kind of become the arch nemesis to what we're about. I think there's companies out there that have made a decision and it's worked for them business-wise, but it's come at a cost to other people, in my opinion. So how do we support local? How do we create more local events? How do we create more local opportunities? And again, it's just like whether we do a marketplace and open up a space, but again, then that's where you're going to have to invest in yourselves to say, okay, I could pay at least this amount because it's hard finding venues that are willing to do this type of thing for free. We'll set it up, but I need to be able to pay staff to do this. So there's kind of a give and take that we need to be able to be okay with and realize that you're investing in your future, but a reasonable amount of investment. I'm not asking you to go, oh, I need you to pay $10,000 to do a fashion show here and make big promises that you're not going to go through. I feel everything that we do is our reputation. So it's really important for us to make sure that we've got a good reputation. We've got some designers here that know us. Some of them are working in our shows. Some of them have seen our shows or been around that. Everything that we've done and any designer that we've worked with in the past, feel free to ask them about us. And I'm not saying trust us blindly either. I'm saying I'm wanting to build a relationship with the designers in the community here to help you get to the next spot, which is going to be hard on both of our ends. Next question.
It's not a question, but a suggestion. I don't know if you've heard of Seattle Restored. They're also a nonprofit that helps a lot of artists and have also helped me to set up. They actually gave me the loft on 5th in downtown. They gave me the whole building to do one-day sales. And I couldn't even fill up a quarter of this room that had the 2 stories. Yeah, so Seattle Restored is a good place that helps. They usually help a lot of artists to put out their work, so I don't know if it's somewhere where you can help us connect as designers to also have them showcase us, because they also gave, and it's in form of grants. One of my designer friends got a store because they wanted to have shops opened in downtown, after the COVID thing. So they gave them a whole year of a store they didn't pay for because it was a grant. So, and, they took the store, did their sales and everything for a whole year. So maybe you can help us in that way.
I definitely think that there's aspects of, okay, Just curious, do we have any females in the audience? Oh, most of us. What about minorities? Never any minorities in the fashion industry, right? I think these are things that we need to start accessing resources that are for female-led businesses, which is what you are. Minorities in the we're building a community. I'm still trying to get the Center for Culture and Arts to meet with me and talk with them about what we're trying to do and potentially get engaged. You know, I'm right there with you, of feeling like I've tried things and feeling like I've beaten my head against the wall. I need to try something different to be successful. So I am game for getting resources. One of the things that I also do notice, and this is a really weird concept, but oftentimes designers will be less likely to share certain resources that they feel like this is a gold mine of resource for them. They won't share it with each other. But for some reason, because I'm not a designer, they have no problem sharing it with me, even though they know full well that I'm sharing it with other people. So it's somehow like, it's almost like a younger brother trying to give something to the older brother. It's like, okay, because we're siblings, I'm not going to do this. But I'd happily give this to my best friend, knowing full well that they may give it to somebody else. It is a weird situation. That's part of what I'm trying to break down, a little bit of the walls of the designers. How do we share resources a little bit better? If we've got a connection and it seems to be working. But at the same time, let's make it work for a group. If you're saying that you can fill out a tenth of what that space is, how do we get 9 other designers in there and do something? We can help market it. We can help create it and put it together. And there's things, like I said, I'm willing to invest a little bit in you guys, our networking events, this types of events. These are things that we do at almost kind of a net negative. It costs us whether time and energy or actual money to produce these types of things. So to a degree, we're willing to put some of this stuff on, and we want to invest in you guys to see you grow and make the community a little bit bigger, better, sparkle. I'd love for nothing more for us to view the Northwest as like, you got LA, you got New York, and the next big region that has fashion. And I don't honestly think we're there yet. But I think if we pull Vancouver resources and Seattle resources and Portland resources and do a little bit less arguing and fighting, so to speak, and a little bit more coming together, I think in the long run we'll benefit those areas. And, if you are a production-ready designer, you should be looking and dealing with resources up and down those three cities. And if you're couture designers, they're close enough that they are resources. And this is by no means trying to say that I don't want anything to do with the eastern side of the state of Washington either. Typically, fashion is usually in your biggest cities. But I would say it's Northwest-wise. If we need to expand our reach down into the San Francisco area or LA area, I think there's got to be some resource sharing from these communities if we want to build and grow. And I would like to come out of COVID and look at new ways to create a fashion scene that we'd be excited about and wanting to be a part of, and figure out new ways of doing it. Any other questions? I'd probably say we've got time for about 1 or 2 more questions, and then we'll end the live stream and do some networking.
First of all, when you were talking about the thing that you did where you got like a whole building or whatever, yeah, somebody recently suggested to me that Pacific Place has a lot of vacancies and might be willing to cut some deals or open up. I don't know. You're smiling at it. Like you tried that, been there, tried that, didn't work.
Pacific Place, Pacific Place downtown.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I had another thing too.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, thank you. What about I looked at the couture and cars thing and I was like, oh, okay, huh. And then I looked at the photos from Pouch and I was like, oh, no, this is like ball gowns and stuff. This is not what I do. And so I recently returned from New York. I did a year-long program there at New York School of Design, and it culminated in each of us, 5 of us students, did a runway show for New York Fashion Week. And I came back and I was all excited. I was like, we each did 6 complete looks. And I was like, oh, well, wouldn't that be cool? I can put my designs in like a Seattle Fashion Week, and then the people in Seattle can see my stuff. I'm from here originally.
and like dead end, zero. There was nothing. And also what is interesting to me and is that I didn't even find you until like Thursday or Friday morning. I was screwing around again, and a friend of mine, who's actually a friend of yours, had told me about the Couture and Cars thing, because I had reached out to like maybe half a dozen people I know in the Seattle area that are in fashion. And he said, oh, my friend David Bailey puts on a show, Couture and Cars, at the LeMay Museum. You should look into that. And I went, okay, well, let me go back to that. So I went back to that, and then I searched you. And then it brought me to Fashion District Northwest, and I was like, oh my God, they're having a meet and greet for designers on Sunday in Renton. Oh, okay, cool. I didn't miss it. It's in 2 days. So, yeah. So I just wonder about like a lower key, and whatever that means. I mean, I know that putting on a fashion production is like, involves so many moving pieces. But something that's like there's a variety of types of designers, you know, maybe like the show I did in New York, there was my stuff, which whatever, and there was one of my classmates did stuff out of recycled denim scraps, one of my classmates did bridal wear, one did streetwear, and one did like contemporary take on traditional Indian garments. So something where there's like, you know, it's not all ball gowns or whatever. And I'm just saying from what I looked at when I looked at the Couture and Cars.
So I'll make this brief because, again, once we stop the live feed, I can talk a little. I feel like this will be more of the Seattle fashion scene as opposed to just you guys thinking this is an advertisement for Fashion District Northwest. We're working on things. It takes a lot of work to develop these. We started with couture, and we can talk a little bit more about what we have available and answer those types of questions, I think, after we cut the live feed. But I think you're right. Part of it is there needs to be, where do you go when you're brand new to this? Okay, what does that look like? Okay, you know, there's been on my mind recently of an emerging designer type of show, where you're doing smaller collections and designers that are new at this and need to learn, you know, the flip side of it is going, okay, when I do a production, I feel like I've got to be able to pay my staff, and I've got risk. I mean, the first couple years, and I know that designers, people feel like the fashion show, just put it in terms that you understand. When you make a garment, you make a wedding dress, and you're going, okay, I'm charging you $2,500 for this wedding dress. They don't understand how much time and energy you put into it, and how many hours it worked. You know, somehow they think it comes out of the wedding dress tree that you just pull off the back, and it's just laid in front of them. And how dare you ask for so much when money is tight? There's a lot that goes in, and I think I do want to do a talk on fashion shows in the future. I would love to do one on how to make a fashion show work for you. Is it the right time for you to do a fashion show? When do you invest in a show? When do you do shows that are free? What is it about planning and prepping for music that seems to be so hard? Well, you guys are all great designers. I don't think anybody's a DJ. Megan might be close to having her DJ skills. Again, we find other resources to get music done, or it may be like, you know, in addition to music, it's, you know, the logistical side. There's a lot that goes into this that we work with the designers on. So trying to teach you how to be, okay, what would it look like if you want to produce, you know, be a part of a show and haven't done it before? How do we educate you in that process? I had a question near in the back. Okay. I think
I do have a question. If I could.
you need the microphone then.
One thing that I would also say too is, I think it would help if, because how much is your fashion is art fashion show just for the designer to join?
So I think, again, I'm happy to answer anything about Fashion District Northwest as well as my team once we end that and answer some of the specific questions. For this part of the live stream, I'm really wanting to keep it more of a generic, if that's okay. But I'm looking for, so to kind of recap as we'll kind of end here, how do we make marketing and exposure for ourselves a little bit more? So we probably need to have a panel discussion on that. We probably need to have a panel discussion on production. And I know for some of you couture designers, that may not be ones that you want to come to then, or may decide you want to, skip that one, or watch it on the live stream, or view it. I get that it may be a little niche as we're starting to do some of this stuff, but it's still the networking, and I still think it would be good for whether you're a couture designer, production or designer, accessories. We still learn from other people, and although it may not 100% apply to what we're doing, it can help educate you to be better at what you're doing as well. So I do see it being beneficial. And then I think the third one that sounds like there's interested in is kind of understanding fashion shows. What does that look like for you to participate? When is it a good time to make the decision to be a part of a fashion show, as opposed to going, hey, I'm going to focus on A, B, and C before I jump into a fashion show. I mean, to some degree, a fashion show is kind of like getting a full page ad in the newspaper. Back in the, I'm getting old, but yes, in a newspaper, it's these printed things that they used to, have every day. For those of you that don't know what a newspaper is, some of you younger people, it was a big investment to make some of those decisions on the marketing side of things. And these are marketing dollars, so sometimes it makes sense and sometimes it doesn't. My viewpoint is I also am looking at ways to, whether you agree with my prices or not, I view what we need to do from a resource side is we're creating revenue stream, not just from the designers. We're creating it from the ticketing side of things, and I want reasonable ticketing prices because I want as many people in the seats as possible. We've been blessed in the last couple of shows. Last year we sold out both shows, literally turning tickets away at the door, going, we can't fit any more people in, which is awesome. It means we can raise our prices a little bit. And that's the second stream of revenue that's coming. The big part that I'm still working on is the sponsorship. And again, it's something that I feel like I'm beating my head against the wall trying to figure out how to do. The more money I can get in for sponsorships would be great. One of the things I was going to say to some of you is there are organizations out there. Have you ever thought of getting a sponsor for a fashion show for yourself? If you want to get a grant, I want to get a grant to participate in this fashion show, blah, blah, blah. You might get grant money to do that. You're not having to have that be your resource. Or maybe it's from, the community that you're participating in. There's, I think, creative ways that we need to find. I need to be able to bring in sponsorship money. I think designers could even look for being sponsored, and how and what would that look like for them? We need to be creative, and I think this is why I want to do these on a regular basis of, if there's enough of a draw, I'm happy to do this monthly. I don't know yet that there is. So part of this will be feedback that I get from you guys moving forward as we do this. And I've dominated the conversation. Do you two have anything that you want to say in kind of the general aspect of fashion shows that, from your experience?
I'm just going to go back to a couple of things that you guys talked about. As far as assistance, I would love for us as a team as well to expand to also fashion students, so schools in the area, and that can go along with like assisting you in sewing if they need hours, or going to pick up materials or fabrics, anything like that. Students do reach out to participate in our shows. But connecting them directly with designers would be a great thing as well. Or even, like you mentioned too, like we have a pop-up with just designers. If you guys don't have storefronts, that could be a great resource to sell some. Or even, material swaps or, anything like that. So I'm really excited to grow the community. And thank you guys all again for being here.
Yeah, I was going to mention the school as well. I know a lot of fashion design students kind of struggle to find jobs in this area because it's not a huge design opportunity for a lot of younger people. There's not a huge industry, which of course we're working on building. So I almost wonder if you could go to their school and put up a flyer, or talk to their teachers and just say, like, I have this opportunity. I'm looking for one assistant or two assistants. I just need someone 10 hours a week just to hand stitch a couple things, if they'd be willing to do that and help you out, and then you wouldn't need to pay a full-time staff. The other thing I wanted to mention was that I love the idea of having a directory, and I've been trying to think about other ways that we can help promote you outside of just your own Instagrams or our website. 'Cause, a lot of this, you're not going to find it unless you Google it. And even then, it's still hard to find. And so trying to brainstorm ways that we can kind of help you gain that awareness and that publicity outside of just our own social media, and where we can really do that. So if you have any ideas, please feel free to let us know. I'm going to keep thinking about that because I would love to have more of an availability for designers. I know it took me a really long time to find this industry and just to find a job working in it. And that took multiple years just to find the right people to get in with. So yeah, I will keep thinking about that and see like what we can really do to help you guys gain that advertising and that publicity you need to be recognized.
I think one of the things I did want to touch base on real quick is professionalism. I feel like as an industry, and I'm sure you as designers have faced like, oh, I do couture, and you're talking to somebody and they're like, well, I at one point in time tried buying a dress from another designer in the area, and it was a disaster. And it was a wedding dress, and I was supposed to have a fitting date, and they didn't have it in time for the fitting date, and then they didn't have it in time for the wedding, and it was just, I had to scramble and get a hand-me-down dress to compensate. And that person's professionalism affects your reputation, as weird as it sounds. Everybody here is helping or affecting the relationships we all have with our customers, because one or two bad experiences may avoid, nope, I'm not getting another dress from somebody custom, I'm just going to buy it from Nordstrom, it's easier, I can avoid the headache. So I know anything and everything that we do, we kind of have that first opportunity to make a good impression. If we don't, then it comes back on us. I know that if you've done hair and makeup for us in the past, and you had a good experience doing that, even though it's a smaller component of it, they talk, just like the models. They talk whether they had a good experience about it. Designers talk about whether they had a good experience at our shows. So I say that because, when we're doing this, I think there needs to be a certain level of professionalism that we need to distribute. If we're early on and growing, I get that. And I'm not saying you have to be out the door extremely professional right off the bat, but I think there's things and hurdles that we kind of need to hold ourselves back on and grow through and learn from before we unveil ourselves to the world, so to speak. But one of the things that I frustrate, you can have a landing page for a website. One of the designers in Seattle has a great little landing page. She doesn't have to do anything to it. It shows her work and connects them to her via email and phone number. Super simple, but it's professional. The other thing is your email accounts. Some of you have, big sexy 22 hotmail, and you've had it since you were a high school kid, and that's your main email. If you're using that professionally, you need to get a new email. I don't mean that you have to get, Nancy at, whatever myfashionis.com. It can be a yourperfectfashion@gmail.com, as long as it looks at least a little bit professional. It is not an arm and a leg. It's $10 a month to have your own domain name type of, and those are things that I can help you with if that's what you want. But from an image side of things, you look way more professional when you're dealing with clients, when you make it seem like if they have any reservations about how professional is this person? What resources they really have, or what can they actually do? And those are things that really have nothing to do with your design skills. You may be a fabulous designer, you make a garment like nobody's business, but if you can't market it well, if you don't come across professional, then it's going to impact your ability to be successful. So I think I'm going to wrap it up. Any last comments from the staff here?
Especially as a beginning designer, I do like the idea of having more of these panels catered towards beginning designers and kind of what the steps are, because it's really overwhelming, right? Like there's so much that goes into it when you're beginning. Like how do you market? How do you build up that social media presence? How do you gain clientele when you're just starting, If you're still figuring out how to even create these garments, it's too much to kind of think about everything else. Use us as a resource. You know, if you're like, I am just starting a social media, I don't know how to build it, you can reach out to us. Be like, what kind of content should I create? How should I create this? How often should I be posting? What can I do? Like, reach out to us and we can help guide you in every step of the way, at least to our knowledge, you know, or we can find someone that is able to help you more than we can. But just take things one step at a time and reach out to us so we can help walk you through so you don't get so overwhelmed and so burdened with everything all at once. You know, use us and let us help you guide. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
So we've gone a little bit longer, and I think it's been great that we've had the questions that we have. I think at this point in time, I'm going to end the live stream, which for those that are on the live stream, I'm sorry. The video cut out for a second time, and they lost a little bit of it, but I think we'll figure out a way to do the live streaming better in the future, and make sure that we're getting the recording correct, and I'll make sure I have somebody here to manage that stuff other than myself, and be able to be the MC type of situation and not have to try to do double duties. But we've got the room until 5. I would love for you to stick around, and I'd say after we'll cut the live feed, do some introductions on who people are, kind of what fashion you are, talk a little bit more informally. So I'm not going anywhere. I'm not in a hustle to get out of here. But typically what I think is we do about a panel for about an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes, and then have about an hour to an hour and a half of, you know, social time to talk about where we are, what we're doing. If you have questions about Fashion District Northwest, then that would be the time to ask. If you want to talk to other designers or find out about other designers, we'll kind of work on that as well. So for those of you that are on the live stream, and we'll get to see whatever this ends up being when I get it produced for the website, thank you for being patient. We'll improve each time we do this, and I will sign us out. Thank you.